So this is our sixth session, and we're going to be covering crisis management and self-care. So far, we have taken looks at the recovery house manager role and the 6 dimensions of the social model, and then the motivational interview that we did last week. So this is our last session, guys. You guys have done fabulous. And these virtual classes are part of a larger curriculum. I hope you guys have taken advantage of the online self-paced courses. If you have any questions about those, just put it in, or just put it in the parking lot or the chat, and we'll get to it. A big shout out to our sponsor, OMAS, the Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services. Thanks to their funding, we were able to offer this training to you guys at no cost. And just as a reminder, this training is offered through a collaboration between Ohio Recovery Housing and Recovery People, and TRON, which is a sister agency to Ohio Recovery Housing in Texas. So you guys, I hope you remember me. My name's Angie, and I'm your co-facilitator. And then I have my lovely other co-facilitator, Tawana. Do you want to say hi?
Hello, you guys. Welcome back.
And we have our tech support, John. And
hey, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Miss Lisa.
Hey, everybody. Glad we're wrapping things up smoothly, and hope you all have a great session today.
Okay, so this training is designed to reflect this recovery and specifically the social model of recovery. And this includes self-care. So we're committed to taking a short halftime break. Give yourself a brain break and a bio break. So, but please come back on time after the 10-minute break, because we don't want to start without you, and we don't want you to miss anything. And we've also created the parking lot for questions that we may not get to. So the link is there. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And if we don't got time to cover them, hopefully we can at the end of the session. And we offer a lot of engagement. So there are several ways that you guys can engage. You can raise your hand, you can unmute yourself, you can use your video. Please use your video. We like to see you guys, and it's just more engaging when we can see you. But we certainly understand that if you can't, things do come up. So if you must, you can turn it off, but we prefer you leave it on. And if you do leave your desk, please just put BRB in the chat. So for be right back, so we know that you are coming back. And this video is being recorded. It's not going to be made to the public, just in case somebody misses a session, misses this session, they'll be able to view it, or for quality assurance purposes. So crisis, there's large ones and small ones, right? And they're common within recovery housing, right? So it's important that we are, as you guys as house managers, that you guys are skilled at crisis management, and you prepare, before they happen, if you can, right? Or you're knowledgeable of it. So in the spirit of being trauma informed and healing centered, we want to remind you guys that you have the right to self-care. And for the first half of today's class, you're going to be invited to participate in breakout groups. And if at any time, we all have different traumas, and at any time you feel like you need to excuse yourself, no questions asked, that's fine. You're free to do so. So before we talk about crisis management, we should get grounded in what a crisis is. So how do we define a crisis? You guys want to unmute yourself, and then we're going to do a Mentimeter. What's a crisis? Can anybody define it? Other than an emergency, an event or period that has led to or may lead to an unstable situation or dangerous situation within your house or a group or society in general. Does anybody have another definition for that? How would you guys define crisis? An emergency? You guys are quiet today. The last session,
in the chat,
guys.
someone put loss. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. We're going to do the mini meter then, guys, because crises come in all different shapes and sizes. And to prepare for a crisis, we're going to do a word cloud with the mini meter. So let's see what our questions are going to be. Get my mouse to work. It's a good thing I started on time and I didn't wait for the video to end. Let's see. Technical difficulties. I'm going to put the link in the oops. All right, there's the link, guys. Examples of health crisis. Yes, losing a child, threats, breakdown, panic attack. These are all good ones, guys. There we go again. Loss of a loved one. There we go.
Also in the chat, Angela, they have relapse, breakdown, extreme difficulty, mental health, suicide.
Yes, definitely. Oh, suicidal ideation. Yes, medical condition, overdose, physical violence. Yes, these are all yes, great answers, guys. You guys are right on it today. All right, let's go to the next one here. So what are the examples of a natural disaster crisis? Can you guys think of some of those? A natural disaster. Hurricane in the chat. Yes, thank you, Melissa. Earthquake, tornado, flood. Tornado is a big one, guys. Flood's a big one. We're all in Ohio, right? Snowstorm.
I'm going to say chemical spills. We just had a big one.
Yeah, forest fire, Melissa. Yeah. Fire, Kevin. Thank you. Awesome. Temperature. Yeah, for sure. Excellent, guys. Excellent. All right, we're going to move right along to the next one here. Oh, temperature. Yes, wildfire. Ice storm. Snowstorm. Great answers, guys. These are excellent. Thank you so much. All right, next question is, okay, what are examples of an information technology crisis? What are some things you guys can think about for that or think of for that? Information technology, IT, basically. Loss of internet. That's a crisis for me, for real, in our house. I mean, it really, hacker. Password failure. Excellent. No internet. Yes, guys. Can't access client info. Yes, Melissa. Yes, these are great answers. Password failure. Social media. So we define crisis, right? Now we're thinking of the different types of crisis, right? Because there's all different kinds. So what we might do for a health crisis would be different than an IT crisis, maybe. Computer crash. Oh, a virus. All right, guys, let's think we got a couple more here. So, okay, what are some examples of a crisis related to an accident? Death, yes, death. Injury, chemical spill. Yeah, and some of these might overlap, guys. These are excellent. Loss of vehicle. Sure, yes. Injuries, injury, trauma. You guys are thinking of ones I never even thought of. Excellent. No insurance, paralyzed. Yes, thank you guys in the chat. Listen, Jamie. You think of any more before we move on? All right, moving right along, guys. Got one or a couple more. Okay, now what are some examples of a crisis related to human relationships? Divorce, death, breakup, yes. Human trafficking. That's a good one. Domestic violence, widow fights. Stalking. Stalk, that's a good one. You guys are on it today. Homelessness, yes. Melissa, that's a good one. All right, I think we got maybe one or two more. So what are examples of some crises we can think of related to human behavior? And some of these answers might be the same for other ones you use too, so. Anger issues, mental health, yes, Heather and Melissa. Zoom is actually, okay. All right, thank you, Phil. Panic attack, that's a good one. Somebody mentioned suicidal ideation before that. That's a good one, right? What about, and some of the other ones that you have used in the other questions, my anxiety attack, panic attack, fights, yes, anger, yes. All right, excellent, guys. Self-harm, yes. Thank you, Heather. Depression. Yes, all of these rumors, yes, all of this stuff can be really, I mean, can be a crisis. For sure. All right. All right. Can you guys still see my screen? Okay. So while most don't think about a crisis until we're in it, right? We don't prepare for it, but it's smart, as you know, to be prepared for as a crisis manager, to think of terms and think of it in broader terms. So you've got the before the crisis, during the crisis, and then after the crisis, right? And this helps us better prepare. So prevention and preparedness and readiness activities happen before a crisis happens. So let's look at those. Okay, personal risk management is an element of personal wellness and personal recovery and wellness. You can create a plan of action, and it can be implemented to prevent a crisis, to minimize the negative effects of a crisis. So examples would include like a relapse prevention plan, a resilience promotion plan, right? Or promotion. So let's see. So organizational risk management, what does that look like? That includes your policies and procedures, right? That you have in place before the crisis. Does that make sense to you guys? This is something that to prevent a critical situation that could adversely affect the organization, the profitability or the reputation of the organization or the ability to operate. So let's look at this thing here.
Yeah, like our recovery house, we have an emergency plan in place to where like when they first move in and we do intake, we we have them put down like 2 places that they're capable of going to in case like a relapse happens or a mental health breakdown happens that doesn't need, ambulance or whatever, somewhere safe that they can go, and then that nobody here can get harmed too.
Okay,
And
yeah,
bring them back,
thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
So you can build a resilience with a whole health action plan, which is WHAM, the acronym is WHAM for that. Plan based on the 8 dimensions of wellness, which we talked about, I believe, the week before last. So let's see. And during the crisis, so after before the crisis, but we've still got the personal risk management, the organizational, and then the social model of recovery. So during the crisis with the social model, how would the residents react and prepare before the crisis? How could residents prepare for a crisis?
They can build their support group, have a sponsor, learn to open up and talk to people, not being shut in with themselves, because things, I let everybody know, things are going to happen, life's going to show up, but it's a chance for you to move forward or stumble backwards. So you got all the tools in place. You just got to be willing to implement them when things do occur.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Oh, I think I skipped ahead one. Here we go, back up. Okay, so we're going to go to your breakout groups. And what I want you to do when you get your breaks is you think of, you guys as a group, think of a crisis, but something, just make up a crisis, pretend that you have a crisis. Got to decide on one because we're going to have 3 breakouts. Okay, so after you decide your crisis, you're going to go to the next slide, and it starts. Group 1 is going to start on slide 4 and goes, so it's 4 and 5. And group 11 will be on, I'm sorry, slide 11. Group 2 is going to be on slide 11. Some kind of Freudian slip, I think. Yeah, 11 and 12. But so after you decide your crisis on slide 11, 4 and 11, then you're going to go to the next slide, and you got 3 sections, right? So the first one, how would you as a house manager prepare for this crisis that you guys already picked, right? And then in the middle one, how could the residents prepare? And then for the last one, how could the organization prepare before the crisis? So it's all before. You guys have any questions? Yes, no? All right, I'm gonna give you guys 12 minutes. See you back in 12 minutes, guys. All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to start with the SAGE group first, the House of Hope. So do we have a reporter? Somebody?
I'll read.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome. Okay, so how could you, the house manager, prepare? Have a relapse plan in place, appoint a senior house resident to report crisis in the home, have a list of treatment centers on hand to give residents in case of relapse, coping skills, having Narcan in the house, and UDS ready. How could the residents in the household prepare? Know the symptoms, know the chain of command, have Narcan in the house, know where list of emergency numbers are located, coping skills, sober support. How could the organization prepare? Narcan, have a list of treatment centers, list of detox centers, redirection plan, behavioral plan, trained staff, and UDSs.
And I'm sorry, Heather, did you guys tell us what your
Relapse, somebody in the house.
your crisis was? Okay,
I'm sorry, I went straight to the second one. I apologize.
I think, we knew what your crisis was though with the
Right.
Narcan. They all had Narcan, right?
Right.
Those are excellent answers. Coping skills, I like that for the residents. That's excellent.
Thank
And be
you.
a sober support. That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you all. Excellent answers. All right, moving right along to the Hope House. So do we have a reporter for the Hope House?
I will.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
What was your crisis?
Well, the crisis was that a resident found alcohol underneath the bathroom sink.
Okay,
The for the house manager to prepare, have a breathalyzer on hand, have a standard operating procedure for how to handle that situation if it came up ahead of time, have alcohol strips on hand, do room checks, and do random urine screens. How could the residents prepare? Have a regular discussion on what to look for. Don't be afraid to tell. Have a sponsor, spiritual advisor, support group, voting whether a resident can come back for a level 1 house. And then how could the organization prepare? Trainings, house meetings, emergency and relapse plans, and have a list of other groups or of homes, detox or treatment facilities available.
that's awesome. I like that. Don't be afraid to tell, because, you know, I know you guys know that I have my house is for women coming out of prison, and they have this, you know, sometimes this bond and, you know, the snitches thing. And it's like, you got to, I mean, it you know, jeopardizes the whole house when, you know, you don't want to, when it's not telling, you know, it's helping. I think I look at it as anyway. Right, guys? But that's an excellent way that the residents can prepare. Yes. And that as the house manager and the organization. Excellent answers, guys. There goes my thing again. All right.
We've got a
So,
question from Raquel in the chat. She
okay.
said, for those of you that shared use of accountability contracts or redirectional contract, would you be willing to share examples or provide contact info for sharing experiences after class?
You guys, that's up to you guys. I mean,
I have class to go to immediately after, or I would, but I'm
Well,
sorry.
But
I can-
also that kind of varies from organization to organization. You know what I mean?
all right, guys, moving right along.
So John, are you trying to say something? We can't hear you. I think maybe what I can't hear John, but maybe what he's trying to say is if you want to email resources to him, he can distribute those
Okay.
to share around if you have approval to share anything, or you want to take your organization's name off of it and you want to share a format example, those can get emailed out later.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
see you,
get my
John.
volume to turn on to actually ask the question. So that's why I put it in the chat. But
Yeah.
For our organization, we use contracts such as this too, but we call them something different. So I was just trying to get some insight as to, you know, what you all are using those for. Is that for like, if like housing guidelines or rules are being broken, you know, we're taking this document and, you know, preparing like this is the rule that was broken, this is what we're going to do moving forward, those kinds of things. I was just trying to get some insight as to how you guys are utilizing those documents.
I will be making one tonight. I will send you a copy of mine. Nobody else does. But yeah, I never thought about that. But we do have like a rule or a policy, you know, a rule. They sign a behavior agreement and they're not supposed to. I mean, when you know if somebody else is in the house using drugs, they're supposed to report it. But they don't, it's not like an accountability contract, but they need one. So
we have what we call safety plans. So it helps us to better gauge like where they're at and see those kind of signs to help them out. So if they're in before a crisis, we can kind of see, you know, because we ask them certain questions about, you know, what are signs of if you feel like you're in crisis, like what are signs we can look for, and things like that. And we call it our safety plan. So each client has to fill out a safety plan.
okay, thank you guys. All right, so during a crisis, we have our response, right? Response activities happen during the crisis. So personal crisis management is an element of personal recovery and wellness. I'm not on the right slide here. Yeah, okay. So let's look at this on as far as like during the crisis. You guys picked your crisis, right? So how would the house manager handle it during the crisis, and how would the resident handle it during the crisis? And then what could the how could the organization handle it during the crisis, right? How do you respond to it?
Are you asking a question?
No, I'm just, yeah, kind of. I mean, if you guys want to unmute yourself, feel free to.
Well, I know for us, like if somebody were to relapse, I would bring them up to my area and they'd stay here until we can contact their safe person to call and they can come get them so that the other residents, you know, are out of harm's way. Immediately urine screen them, call their people, and then they would go there, and we hope that they would clean up enough to where like we could bring them back in a few days, 5 to 7 days, and they give another urine screen and be clean, and then they'd go on the accountability contract and we'd give them another chance, you know. That's how we'd like to do it.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean that it will happen every time, but
but it's better to be prepared, right? So what does that look like within the social model of recovery during a crisis? Does that look different? You got the house, you got the personal crisis management, then you got the organization, and then the social model recovery. How could the residents respond within the house? And like we're talking about culture, you know, and that's kind of like with the women that I have that are coming from prison, that's a different culture, really. I mean, it is. So, I mean, that's from a cultural perspective. How are they supposed to respond when, you know, they come from a culture where they're not, you know, stitching is not a good thing. It's not, I mean, for lack of a better word, I guess, snitching, but you know, that's how they see it. So,
Are you looking for feedback on that question?
no, I'm just kind of speaking. You
Okay.
can say whatever. Yeah, go ahead, Doug. I'd like some feedback on that, actually.
Well, that's where you know, we get them, that's where empowering them come in, you know, because they're trying to take hold of their life. So if somebody's putting their, you know, because somebody drinking or using around me, in my mind, they're trying to kill me because my addiction want to kill me. So, you know, I encourage my guys to hey man, you know, you gotta change. It's suggested that you change your mind frame about the snitching thing because I'm telling, because I'm trying to save my
Love
life.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, but it's a different culture, though. Wouldn't you agree?
absolutely, because
Yeah.
it took me a long time to change that for myself.
All right, thank you, Doug. All right, guys, we're going to go to a next breakout. And this one is it's gonna be the same slide or different slides, but the same 3 questions for you as the house manager, how the residents would respond during a crisis, and then how the organization should respond during a crisis. So you guys are going to start, let's see, the Hope House is going to start on, I'm sorry. Yeah, Hope House is going to start on slide 6, and House of Hope is going to start on slide 13. You guys have any questions before we go to your breakouts? You guys kind of got the hang of it. Let's 9 minutes. You guys need more than 9 minutes? Right.
I'm pulling up the link to this again.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
I lost it. All right. Oh yeah, John's got it in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, is 9 minutes okay for everybody?
fine with me.
All right, we'll see you back in 9 minutes.
Okay, guys, welcome back. We're going to start with the purple group this time. Who wants to be the reporter? The same reporter? You guys want to pick a different one? Hope House.
I'll do it.
Thank
I'll do
you.
it again.
Okay.
So during the crisis of finding the alcohol bottle underneath the sink, the house manager, the house manager can best respond by remaining calm, calling 911 if necessary, having Narcan on hand, notifying their supervisor, calling the emergency contacts for the resident, and referring to the standard operating procedure that they had in place beforehand. How could the residents in the household best respond? One, by paying attention telling or reporting to staff, remaining calm, calling as 911 if necessary as well, and knowing where the Narcan is kept. And then how could the organization best respond? Offering resources, helping them get into detox, supplying the Narcan, making sure the manager is supported, having procedures in place, and providing training and role plays.
Thank you, Tiffany. Excellent. All right, Sage Green Group, the House of Hope. We have a reporter for you guys.
I will. Okay, so how could the house manager best respond? De-escalate the situation, give a UDS, separate them, stay calm, be understanding, provide resources, learn from it, be compassionate. The residents, how could they respond? Stay calm, separate self, get house manager, call sober support, learn from it, lean on one another for support, be understanding. And the organization, refer to higher level of care, be understanding, provide resources, learn from it, follow up with resident.
Excellent. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Oh, there goes my thing again. All right. So now we're going to look at recentering after the crisis. So what does that look like from a personal perspective as a house manager? How would you recenter? And what does it look like from the organization's perspective? You provide follow-up communication, assess the risk and crisis management effort, and make improvements as needed, right? How do you recenter their personal, right? So the social model, what does recentering look like within the social model, within the social network, and from a cultural perspective within the recovery home? What does that look like? So, let's see here. So let's see, we're going to go to your breakouts again. You guys are getting the hang of this though, right? So in your breakout group, using the same crisis, how could you recenter as a house manager? How do the residents recenter? And then how could the organization recenter? And then you guys pick your reporter, and we'll see you back in. Let's do 8 minutes. You guys got the hang of this. 8 minutes. No, I'll get the link for you. You got it? Anybody else got us? Oh, we got it. Thank you, Lisa.
Everybody got a chance to click it? All right, see you back in 8 minutes.
All right, guys, welcome back. Let's do the House of Hope first, the Sage Green Group. Who is our reporter?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, how could you, the house manager, recenter? Call my sponsor, couple minutes to self, call sober support, self-care day, talk about it to residents, house meetings, check in with staff, and figure out what happens next. How could the residents in the household recenter, call sponsor, couple minutes to self, call sober support, go to a meeting, self-care day, read first step, talk to counselor? And how could the organization recenter see where we can make improvements, training, follow up with house manager, and offer EAP?
Excellent, Jamie. Thank you so much. Okay, what about the Hope House? Who do we have reporting for you guys?
Do it again.
Thank you, Tiffany.
After crisis, the house manager
Oh,
can
Heather, sorry.
recenter by having a debriefing meeting,
Mhm.
calling their sponsor, having a team meeting with the staff, go to a meeting, and self-care. The residents in the household could also have the debriefing meeting as well, have a house meeting, call sponsor, spiritual advisor, or support group, go to a meeting, empower each other to stay on the right path, or stay on the path, talk about how they're feeling and self-care. And then the organization have the debriefing meeting, have extended role plays, do an assessment on the crisis response and how maybe they can improve it the next time around, and being supportive of staff and residents.
Thank you, Tiffany. Awesome, guys. Awesome answers from both groups. All righty. So the exercises we just completed are strategies that you guys can use in your own recovery homes. And it creates a series of processes to develop a crisis management plan of the person, the resident community, and then the organization or at the organizational level, right? So this is not a one and done thing, you know, meaning that the crisis and risk management plans should be reviewed and then updated over time, right? So your policies and procedures, along with the staff and leadership manuals, are living documents, basically, that continue to provide and or evolve and improve. So you always want to, you know, read them, review them, update them when needed. So it's an ongoing process that includes implementation, compliance, additions, reviews, and revisions. So you don't just put a policy and procedure manual over and then get dust on it and cobwebs, right? You need to come, you know, always look at it and make sure that maybe some things need updated. And when you do have a crisis, maybe you might handle something differently, and maybe that worked and you need to update it, right? That makes sense, guys? All right, guys, it's break time. You guys ready for a break? Yeah? No? You want to just stay another hour? No self-care? Okay, so the next half of the hour, we're going to talk about self-care. So let's take 10 minutes for self-care. We'll come back at 3:16.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone is back. I hope everyone had a chance to kind of take a deep breath. I know you guys talked about situations. You were talking about crisis, what to do before, during, and after. This time, we want to kind of take a break from that. Take a deep breath. You guys did an excellent job. I love the participation you guys got in there. I think, is that Angela trying to get back in? All right. All right, so we're going to talk about self-care, you guys. So as you know, self-care is critical for everyone in recovery. It is even more important for recovery housing managers, because you just talked about all the crises and stuff that you went through and how you would have to handle them. And just thinking about that, or even the ones you have been through, how did you handle those stressful situations? So we all know that being a house manager, you're that first contact with anything happening. And with that happening, you need to practice that self-care within yourself. So I like that we put in the, I'm gonna put it in the chat. I just dropped the link. It's called positivepsychology.com. If you guys have a moment, please take time. And it's a wonderful checklist. And it goes to those same domains we talked about, but it adds the professional part in there too. We know about the spiritual and mental, physical, emotional, and social, but the aspect of being that professional. So if you guys have time, please use this as a resource. So it is in your chat, and it's a nice little PDF to go back to. So here it talks about, you know, the ABCs of self-care. Ken Craybill, he wrote about the ABCs, and he talks about the first one as being aware. You first have to be aware what's going on. And having that self-awareness begins with your own stillness. And through that stillness, you can gain self-awareness. I know when people come in our home, we tell them the first 30 days, take your time, become aware of yourself. They think it's punishment. They don't realize it's a great thing, and having that self-recovery and self-care. B is stands for balance. So self-care is also balancing. It's a balancing act. And it requires a continuous making of adjustments. So I may have to adjust to this situation a little differently than the next one. C stands for connection. Self-care is being connected to others and something larger. It makes you feel like you're included. So some may even call this that spiritual connection. So as we move to this, how does this reflect in our recovery? So this is what we have for you. We got a wonderful example of during the pandemic. Oh my goodness, it made everyone practice self-care. Even the ones that didn't know what it was, you had to figure out what it was. So it reminded us how important it is. We couldn't go out and get those haircuts we wanted. You know, a lot of things were shut down. So this video will give us some practical ideas on how we can show up for ourselves, okay? And then after the video, you guys, I would like for you to share what came out after listening to the video. You ready?
For yourself. So when there's a lot going on.
Tawana, you might have to share again with the share sound function.
Yeah.
So unshare and then when you share again, click share sound at the bottom. But no, don't click optimize for video. There you go.
Today we're going to be talking about showing up for yourself. So when there's a lot going on in our lives, in the world, when it feels as though there's just no more space in our mind, it's really tempting to let go of the things that are most important to us and the things that are going to keep us healthy and well. And now more than ever, it's really important that we focus on those things that are going to keep us healthy and well. So as much as possible, if you can, find a time to meditate. Find a time to step out of the thinking mind, to rest the thinking mind, and just be present. Make sure you're taking time to exercise if you can. Most of the gyms are closed down. It might mean going out for a walk. It might mean going out for a run. It might be doing something at home. But whatever it is, make sure that your body's getting some kind of physical movement. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Sleep is so important. It's important to our immune system. It's important to our cognition. If you don't get enough rest, then you're going to compromise all kind of different aspects of your health. Eating, right now, eating's going to be difficult for all of us, and we may not get everything that we want. But continuing to eat as healthily as you can is going to be a really important part of staying healthy and well. And then finally, finding a sense of play in your life. In the middle of a global pandemic where so many people are suffering, and maybe people really, really close to you are suffering as well, play and a sense of joy can feel so far removed and perhaps even unnecessary in our life. But if we can find even a couple of moments in the day where we smile, maybe even laugh, find something that brings us a sense of joy, that has a very real impact, not just on our mind, but also on our body. So just making sure that you're looking after yourself. Remember, it's not selfish. It's not just for you. It also benefits the people around you as well.
All right. So with that video, what came to mind? I'll share the part about having fun. Don't forget to have fun. So you guys, what came up to mind when you saw this video? Anyone, feel free to unmute yourself. We sometimes think that self-care is a punishment. What came to mind, or did it remind you of anything, especially for me?
For me, it's kind of to like recharge ourselves. Sometimes we give out a lot. We need to, take a step back and get that back in. So pour back into ourselves.
Yes, we also we forget to pour back in. We have to fill the cup back up. If it runs out, we got to fill it back up. Anyone else?
I love the meditation piece of it.
I know, right? I forgot, like, oh, meditation, that is so important. Just taking yourself away and having clear thoughts. Anyone else? We'll move on.
It reminded me of during COVID when I was living in South Carolina at the time, and I would go on hikes, like at different places around where I was living outside in nature and stuff. It was just really good to get, not be so claustrophobic in the house.
Anyone else?
We have a couple comments in the chat.
Kayla says, not disappeared on me, sorry. He said it's much harder to find time for yourself now. Now that we're not shut in, right, Kayla? It's harder to find time for herself.
Great.
Helen says take a walk, just being able to take a walk.
Mhm. That was a big one, just being out in the nature. That's what made me feel great. All right. So it's important to know what is self-care and what it is not. And sometimes we hold that concept of self-care, like I said, it's a barrier. Like, oh, I don't have time for myself. How am I going to make time for myself? So let's take a look at what self-care is and what it is not. So self-care is not an emergency activated stress because when you become overwhelming. So it doesn't automatically activate as soon as something happens. What it is an intentional way of living. And it's a daily practice. Self-care is not acting selfishly. It's being a worthy stewardship of self. How am I taking care of self today? Self-care is not doing more or adding more to your list and it becomes overwhelming. Self-care as much as about letting go as it is about taking action. So with that being said, we have different attitudes of how it affects what we do and how we practice self-care. So don't feel guilty about practicing self-care. One more video, you guys. I know you've been waiting to hear it. So this is a great one that talks about self-care and the action plan. So if you don't know how to put it in action, this might kind of help you. And I think it's kind of funny too, even the comments afterwards. Here we go.
Hey there, let's talk about self-care. Now, Parks and Rec, of course, is pretty great, but self-care is more than just treating yourself. Self-care is not a reward, though sometimes that can be part of it. It's a vital piece of the ongoing process of being a human. To quote the self-help classic, Codependent No More, self-care is an attitude that says, I am responsible for myself. In other words, I am my responsibility, and I will honor that responsibility as I would anything else that was precious to me. So let's make an action plan for using self-care to make our lives more awesome. Step 1. Recognize that it is indeed okay to take care of yourself. Nay, it is not just okay, it is smart. As Lifehacker puts it, self-care helps prevent burnout, reduces the negative psychological and physical effects of stress, and helps you refocus on what's true and important. Like, there's an entire peer-reviewed international journal on burnout. This is like a real big difficult problem to solve. Now this may seem counterintuitive, but it actually makes you more productive, not less, to set time aside for yourself. And regardless of your productivity levels, recognize that you are a human being, and that is enough to warrant compassion and kindness. For real. Step 2. Ideally, before the need strikes, research outwardly and inwardly what self-care means and what works for you. There are self-care actions that can help pretty much everyone: getting proper nutrition, some exercise, enough sleep, hydrating, and taking small breaks throughout the workday. I like to go for walks, and I like to be forced to do it by my friends or family or baby. We'll link to a list of almost 50 self-care actions down in the doobly-doo. But everyone is unique, so it's important to ask what actions make me feel better. Journaling, texting something nice to a friend, like watching videos of pug puppies, doing a bunch of push-ups, pillow fights, putting some projects on the back burner maybe. I personally am all in for the baby cuddles. I have a baby now, and I feel like I'm doing a thing that I was designed for, and that I need to be doing, and that I also just really like. Sometimes he's angry though, and he yells at me, but most of the time I get cuddles. Now, one possible self-care action from us to you: start a digital warm and fuzzy file and fill it with compliments or kind words you've received, good memories, and favorite photos. Like, I have to admit, I get still lots of people saying nice things about me on the internet, and that helps get me through the day. Being able to look through this file when you're feeling down might go a long way to bringing you back up. You want this list to be both ample and flexible, and you may even want to break it into different categories. For instance, T. Michael Martin, the fellow who wrote this script, by the way, has a spreadsheet of self-care actions organized by types of negative experiences. After all, the self-care you need while you're depressed may not be the same self-care that helps when you're overwhelmed with work. Also, if other people are involved in these self-care actions, it's totally cool to let them know now that they are part of your action plan. They may not always be available, but odds are if they're a good friend, they're gonna do their best to do their part. Step 3, self-care powers activate. It's best if you can recognize the warning signs that you could use some self-care before things go into the red zone. For me, by the way, it's when I notice my fingers going to websites that I didn't intend on going to. Like just typing in reddit.com when I have a ton of work to do is a sign that I should go for maybe a little walk to recharge the batteries. If you're keeping a journal, you might notice a pattern or two in your behavior. Perhaps you'll notice a bleaker mood than normal or disturbed sleep. Either way, once the need becomes apparent, consult your list and follow through. And that is all that we have for you today. But if you have any self-care tips, please let us and other people who are looking know down in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. In the meantime, take care of yourself, your friends, and your neighbors. It's the adult thing to do.
Get brighter? Yep. That was,
Okay, great. What do you guys think about that?
Hey there, let's talk about self-care.
All right. So we talked about self-care when we went past that video. So are you guys ready for your last and final breakout? Yay, you made it so far. All right, so this time you get to focus on yourself. I like this part because then now you get to focus on what do I have to do? So you're going to have 2 panels in the breakout slide. The first one is going to say, what have you done for self-care? And then the second panel will say, what will you commit to doing for self-care? Any questions about our last breakout? I know you guys are looking forward to this. I know it. All right, so about 10 minutes, and you guys really take your time and think about it. And put in some great discussion, and then have someone report out new or different from this one, and have fun. I'll see you back here in about 10 minutes. All right. Welcome back, welcome back. I hope you guys got some new tips and you guys were able to share with this. We will start with the Hope House. Who's going to report out on the self-care for the Hope House?
I will.
All right, go for it.
All right, so what have you done for self-care? We're seeing a therapist regularly, taking care of mental health, gardening, exercising, getting proper sleep, staying away from toxic or chaotic people, vacations, movies, retreats, walks, time to connect with their sponsor, pampering themselves, going for a drive, bubble baths, morning meditation, prayers, readings, and coffee, spending time with friends, doing something fun, and going out to eat. And then we put for what will you commit to do for self-care? We meditate, breaks throughout the day, keep taking walks, naps, committing to pampering myself, committing to recovery, creating a self-care plan, drinking more water, eating healthy, taking a day to ourselves, keeping up on mental, physical, and fitness health, establishing boundaries, doing laundry, including folding and putting away, and taking time out of the day to breathe deep breaths.
Thank you, Tiffany. Do you know me? I just washed my clothes and I'm dreading folding them and putting them away right now.
Mine are still on my bed.
So you feel my pain. We're right here with each other.
I do.
So yeah, that's just one thing, because you'll do it, but I'll do it later. But just following through, committing to go ahead and following them up the same day. I like that. Bubble bath. Oh wow, I like that too. We be so in a rush, we forget about taking them little time just for a bubble bath and staying away from toxic and chaotic people. Isn't that an option? That's an option that we love to have. You get to shut out that size. You know what? I'm not doing the toxicity today, and just taking a vacation. I know taking a mental health walk, that's what we would say. Let's go take a walk around the block. Those are great. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's go to our other home, which is household. Did you guys do that on purpose? The names are so close. All right, who's gonna report out for this home here?
I will.
Okay.
All right. So what you have done for self-care, treat yourself with good coffee. We're meaning like Starbucks, you know, or whatever you want. 12-step workshop, getting nails done, take a relaxing bath, go shopping, go to a movie or bowling with friends, go to the gym, treating yourself to a nice meal, tanning. And then what will you commit to doing for self-care? Nature walks, meditation and yoga, fitness, getting dressed up at least one time a week, taking a day off, sleeping in, read a book, journal, listen to music, take a relaxing bath, going to get a massage, getting hair done, play with, well, somebody put play with their dog. I don't have a dog, so, but if I did, I would play with my dog.
Right, you play with your dog. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, massage. Yes. I need to schedule one now. And journaling, I like that one. Sleeping in. Ooh, I need to put that on my schedule. Sleep in. Because I think I still pop my eyes open no matter what. Just sleeping in. Going to a movie and bowling. Thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing. Anyone else want to share any more that we may have missed or something different that you may do? I like to go fishing. So when it warms up, I will be outside with the pole. That'll be me. I like going fishing just to kind of get out in nature. All right, if there's no further comments, congratulations. You guys are at the very end. On this next one here, I'm gonna share it over to John, but I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this cohort. And thank you guys for being so participatory in this as well. We definitely need your feedback and respond to it. So thank you so much for your time that you took. And I hope you guys be successful and great house managers. Thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to thank everybody for participating. You guys rock. This is one of the best cohorts we've had in this whole program. You are important. The job that you do is important. Your participation in this conversation proves that this conversation needs to continue, and supporting you and the job you do is important to Ohio Recovery Housing. And I couldn't be more happier with the outcome in the conversation discussions. With this, I will be sending you, that being said, I will be sending you a link to a post-training survey, and this is your opportunity to let us know how well it went. It's an anonymous survey. Just let us know how well it went and any comments that you can offer that we can apply to the next iteration of this, because this current house manager collaborative is ending in a few weeks with another cohort. And then we're hoping to get funding to continue this and supporting you guys in the frontline jobs that you do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. ORH is very appreciative to what you've done. And also to our facilitators, Tawana and Angela, thank you so much. You guys rock as well. Yes, and thank you to Jason, Lisa, and everybody at Recovery People. This is, like I said, this has been one of the best cohorts that we've had during this whole thing. And all I can say is we're very happy, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Hopefully the next one will be in person.
Well, there's going to be a lot of training coming down the pike. So some
That's
in
right.
person. And
will you be in Columbus in March at the RH conference?
yes. Thank you for that segue, Doug. You're all invited to register for the March Ohio Recovery Housing Annual Conference. A lot of things that was discussed in this House Manager Collaborative, we identified and made a priority because of you and previous trainings that said, oh, we need more information on this, or, you know, had a lot of questions on that. So you'll find a lot of the sessions at the conference are specifically a result of that discussion going on here. So, yep, I'll be there working.
I see you.
Yeah, I know. I seen you. I seen you registered. So I
Yeah.
see a lot of you are registered. So I can't wait to see you in person. So check with your operators, your bosses, and see if you're not registered, if you can get the time off to come down. It's a 2-day conference on March 8th and 9th in Columbus. Anyway, thank you again. And anybody else have anything else to say?
We got a lot of thank yous in the chat, and Raquel wants to know, are there going to be certificates for this training?
Very good. Thank you. Some people would like certificates of attendance and some people don't. So if you would like a certificate of attendance, please email me and say you will. I will tell you right now, if you missed a live session, I know it. I keep track. I'll send you the recording to the session. If you haven't finished the online lessons, which I can see that almost all of you have already finished it, but those would have to be finished before we send out a certificate. But yes, just email me, say you want a certificate. I'll reach out to you personally and let you know. It'll be one in attached to the email, or it'll say exactly what I need you to do to get it. And usually it's just you didn't finish the 3rd online self-paced lesson or something like that. So appreciate that comment.
Thank you guys so much. You guys were phenomenal. We really appreciate you signing up. You guys were great. I'll see you guys at the conference.
Buddy, have a good night.